Today is Tuesday, February 26, 2019, and this is a study session of the Prescott City Council. So please call roll.
Mayor Mingarelli?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Orr?
Here.
Councilman Blair?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Here. Councilman
Lamerson?
Here.
Councilwoman Scholl?
Here.
Councilman Sischka?
Here.
All are present.
Thank you for that. Welcome, everyone. We have 2 items on the agenda. Let's start with item 3A.
Update on Aviation, the Cyber Warfare Range, and the Center of the Future by Jim Robb.
Hey, Michael. Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, distinguished guests, thank you for being here. One of the reasons I wanted to do this today is we have talked about our wonderful city, the things that we're doing to create high-paying jobs. One of the things that we've all talked about was that one of our greatest assets is our intellectual capital. Intellectual capital meaning our young people, our students, our college graduates, our citizens, that how can we help to create high-paying jobs for them to stay here and have a future and work with our educational system and business to make this happen. So today, what I want to do is, I thought as opposed to me and my big mouth, I thought what we do is have some people that are experts that can talk about this. So first on the list is going to be Aviation Aircraft, which you know is located at U.S. headquarters in Prescott, Arizona. And I'm pleased to have Leland Moreno-Hilburn, who will be discussing this today. Leland is now the Executive Director and General Manager for Aviation U.S. He is a 30-year Boeing executive, retired, and as most of you know him as the Chamber of Commerce as an ambassador, and was the actual ambassador of the year for the Chamber. So this is a gentleman that absolutely loves this city, loves this area, and helped us all, quite frankly, to get aviation here. So without further ado, I'm going to have Leland come up and give his presentation. Nice meeting you.
Jim, thank you for that introduction. It is a pleasure and my honor to be here, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. Thank you for having me with you today. As Jim introduced, I am the Executive Director, General Manager for Aviation Incorporated, Aircraft Incorporated. And it has been an honor to represent the city in bringing this industry and this company in particular to the city as we evolve our business plan. I want to share with you, not so much as the manager and director of aviation, but as an advocate for our city and with a passion for economic development. I want to share with you what aviation is doing in consideration for how it will emerge in this community. So I have with me today a presentation about aviation's business ecosystem. An ecosystem is the fundamental elements of an environment in which an environment and entities within an environment can thrive. Our ecosystem is sought to support our mission. As you know, we are here to change the way we travel regionally. We seek to pioneer accessible and sustainable air travel that will facilitate the mobility needs of our society in the future. Our goal is, and we are achieving, the development and delivery of the world's first all-electric regional mobility aircraft. Our goals fundamentally are, with regards to the development of that aircraft, to fly, certify, and deliver. We are going to fly this year. We're going to do so under a great deal of pomp and circumstance, and we're going to bring that notoriety here to Prescott as we begin our flight test operations from Prescott Ernest A. Love Field. We will, in the future, facilitate the manufacture and delivery of those aircraft from Prescott as well. To achieve this goal in its beginning and throughout our future, we must rely upon a robust ecosystem that will facilitate our business dimension. The dimensions of our business are categorized here. These are the things that we must assess, develop, and leverage for us to be successful in our mission. But these are relevant to any business in our community and throughout our region. A business must have an understanding of its economic environment, the investment that they have to work with, the market in which they're pursuing, the overhead, the profitability of existing as a business. and all things that are either contributors or influencers and or impact to that environment. The governmental environment is a partner. It is a governance, it is an oversight, and we should hope is never an impediment. The regulatory environment can be an impediment, but through the partnerships that are forward-thinking and business-centric, we can work within those regulatory environments to prosper. The social environment is absolutely key to any community. With such, this is about the people. This is what people bring to their jobs. This is what they bring to the community through their philanthropic organizations and the NGOs, the services that make up the fabric of our community. Technologically, our industrial base, our technological environment is absolutely key for the future. We must leverage academia. We must have an environment that fosters R&D for the development of technologies, the transfer of those technologies into the private sector. We need to have strong vocational advocacy and opportunities, again, for the people of our community. And we must have technological services that deliver the bandwidth, that deliver the facilitization of industries of all sizes and types. The elements of an ecosystem are the nurturing foundation of a business environment. This is reflected here. This is the Aviation's projected ecosystem. We have the enterprise. The enterprise is our immediate relationships with those people who are our partners, our suppliers, our customers, and services that facilitate our products and services. The basis of those entities and of this community and the ability of our business to operate and to flourish are made up of an ecosystem of the other elements, such as government, economic development organizations, EDOs, technology entities, educational institutions, workforce development, and the community stakeholders. This is reflected here to show that this is a dynamic network of entities that interact for the benefit of one another, for the participants of that network. The business system ecosystem contributors, as I had defined, again, we focus on government. Government is primary within our relationship in the ecosystem. They set the objectives of the community through strategic planning. They provide for the environment relative to policy and infrastructure, and then they permit and they instill a balance in public safety. They support the emerging innovations of business and the quality of life throughout the community. Economic development organizations are a partner and a necessary forward look to the trends of technology, of business, and the demands of the people in our society. They assess and they assess for deficiencies. They analyze. They provide strategic planning in partnership with the community and the government. They are consultants for advisory. They sustain and substantiate workforce development. Technology business attraction, retention, and growth is significant. They take the daily action to advocate on behalf of the communities for the targeted businesses and technologies that are desired by that community. Technology infrastructure, again, utilities. We must have a foundation that facilitates businesses of all needs. The R&D facilitization is crucial, usually led by our academia. Innovation centers also reflects a partnership between economic development organizations, educational institutions, and private business. Educational institutions, as I've discussed, they're the foundation of how we grow a community through the development of skills, knowledge, and development. Innovation and technology research, and that technology transfer into private industry. As you've seen just of these four, they are highly integrated and interdependent of one another and must be equal contributors and must have an equal share as stakeholders in that ecosystem. Workforce development then becomes an offset of all of these interacted groups promoting for the future, developing the jobs necessary to facilitate the businesses that are attracted and evolved as technology is created within that community. Primary, secondary, college education's vocational training is significant in conjunction with our higher level institutions. And business collaboration for skills and curriculums and job placement. All of these things are founded and supported by economic development organizations, but there must be workforce development that is predicated on our education and those EDOs. Community stakeholders, again, we getting back to the core and the heart of the community. This is the people. This is the people of which groups and or individuals step up to help participate and better our community. We need to find a way to partner with them for both their vision and their support in advocacy for the directions that we take as government, and to be able to showcase with regards to our economic development organizations. Their philanthropic work, their community development support, the citizens advisory, and arts and cultures are significant in this ecosystem. So Aviation is here now to evolve. And we are set in our site planning, and we are seeking to engage in all of those elements within our business dimension and within a desired ecosystem. And so we're projecting here our business ecosystem objectives. It is fundamentally to ensure that there is local and regional adoption of a business ecosystem strategy. It's here that we are looking for that basis, that organic soil, as it were, to grow our community, our business communities. Interdependent environment of leaders, contributors, engaging in the assessment and planning for the future. We seek to partner with diverse participants, and in many cases, this is seeking out those people who are competitors. And that aspect can be with regards to municipalities and or businesses, educational institutions, and so on. We would advocate that we take and make partners from competitors. Seek common goals and shared interests and insights. This is how we can all win. Participants with different goals and objectives are connected on a common basis, and we must find those common elements, and we should hold them to we should look for those things that are at a higher mutual objective. And we can lead that by the following: providing a value exchange. Value exchange is where we find the good and the opportunity in each participant, their needs, their wants, their desires. We try to facilitate that for everyone's benefit in participating within the ecosystem. Exchanging of ideas, technology insights, governance, leadership models, information, analytics, and information, and services. We find a way in which we advocate for one another, and we can bring each other to success within their respective markets, within their respective ecosystems. And that's the latter: integrate and leverage multiple ecosystems. Identify and link both public and private ecosystems. There's many overlaps, there's many shared interests and common goals, and we can find in many cases opportunities to provide a value exchange in the linkage of those systems. One thing that is an example of integrating ecosystems is to have advocacy organizations, again, leveraging economic development organizations. I'd like to refer to an emerging organization that Aviation is anxious to advocate for and to participate in. Participating in those EDOs to find the shared opportunities, to provide a value exchange, and to link ecosystems. The Northern Arizona Technology Alliance is beginning to develop it. It will be regional users, producers of technology, applications, and products. It will include educational institutions, tech-related services, local, regional, and governments and regulatory bodies. Regional and state EDOs will be partnered through chapter affiliations, and we will seek community advocacy and participation through stakeholder investors. This is, again, reflective of the objectives that Aviation has as a business that seeks to evolve in this community. But we need the community to evolve equally into the frontier of new technologies and in an aspect of a focused ecosystem that will cause for the flourishment of a business environment. I thank you for the opportunity to present on this concept, and be happy to take any questions if you have them.
Well, thanks for being here, Leland. Appreciate your work, particularly on this initiative with aviation. I was thinking about the genesis of this. Was it November of 17 when they first came to Prescott, the group with aviation? Does that ballpark sound about right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I remember being at a meeting there at Embry-Riddle in the cafeteria and hearing about this and truly amazed at that moment. But to be standing here, with you on their staff and with all the plans that are moving forward, it's truly encouraging. When you kind of step out and hear about the hopes and dreams of what this could be, that's one thing, but to actually see it really materialize is truly amazing. So I want to thank you for your work. I'm still hanging on your statement about the government. Hopefully is not an impediment. And I think you know us well enough that we want to work with aviation and make sure that we clear a path for them so we're not an impediment. And I think that was true from the beginning as we had them here in town and hosted them, and all the business community really showed up in a big way at that time to make sure they knew how welcome they were in the community, and so it's a great day. I'm very excited to kind of continue to see how this unfolds. What is the plan for Paris, the air show? Can you speak to that some specifically about what's going to happen this summer?
Sure. Yeah. And Greg, to your other comments, thank you. It's certainly an honor to represent and bring to this community this opportunity. But I will say it was the community and how they reflected that openness, that willingness, and the forward thinking to embrace a concept. That concept is become a genesis now that is becoming widely respected and adopted throughout the world. We see major airports in multiple countries now who are long-term strategically thinking how they will adapt in facilitating electric aircraft. So that on its premise just says we've arrived. And Prescott represented itself as a forward-thinking and a welcoming community in which a business of such can thrive. So what I've introduced here is measures and opportunities that we can further seek and apply in that evolution. And so that evolution is going to be milestones. You spoke of the Paris Air Show. We will be open for business, declared open for business in our presentation of the Alice Aircraft and the Aviation Aircraft Incorporated, U.S. subsidiary, from the Paris Air Show on the 17th of June of this year. As such, we are going to introduce our formal partners, both risk-sharing partners and our primary suppliers, of which we are adding to in multiple phases. We seek to have multiple suppliers of the same primary components, motors and avionics and things of that nature, making our aircraft very adaptable to regions and or preferences on the part of the customers. We will, again, be open for business and pointing the way to our future plans, which will come here to Prescott. We will direct the world to come here to Prescott. We will seek to have them note our flight testing activities here, the community that is here welcoming and supporting our company. And we will evolve in that flight test activity, one aircraft through the end of this year, the second aircraft by the very end of the year. That aircraft will be the primary flight test, or what we call exercise air vehicle. A number of the requirements for airworthiness certification, type certification, will be applied in testing of that vehicle. By first to no later than second quarter of 2020, we'll have a third air vehicle. And that will be representative, perhaps a 95% or better configuration representation of our final production aircraft. We will test that in conjunction with the latter part of our type certification, airworthiness certification. We will demonstrate that aircraft to the FAA as our intended production vehicle. So we will achieve both a production certificate plan and the airworthiness certificate. That will lead us to production of the aircraft as we intend to do here in Prescott.
Wonderful. I'm glad you came out of retirement, by the way.
Thank you.
Councilman Sischka.
Thanks, Leland, for coming. I'd like to hear a little bit more about the fun stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about the aircraft?
Well, certainly. Again,
Hey, Steve, can I do one thing? Can I have John give his presentation? We can come back and do some questions then? Because you guys gave me 30 minutes, so let me know what you...
I think we can do a few more from the council, Jim, and then, yeah, we'll get,
We're okay, we're okay.
yeah, we're just cutting into Woodfield's time. It's no big deal, so. Go ahead, Councilman.
yeah. Well, thank you. I love to talk about the fun stuff. You know, when I get into groups and speak, I ask one of two things. How many people know what an elevator trim tab is? How many people have watched the Jetsons? Okay, so that kind of puts me into people have seen things flutter around in the air, or people know what an airplane component is made of. The fun stuff about the aircraft, again, did I mention it's all electric?
Yes.
It will be the world's first all-electric regional aircraft, and the significance of that is passenger carrying over regional distances. We will have the capacity to fly our aircraft in excess of 650 miles at conventional cruising speeds, carrying 9 passengers and 2 pilots. And we'll do that with the economy, the ecological soundness, and the efficiency and reliability of electric propulsion.
How many passengers will it carry?
9 passengers.
9 passengers.
Yes. The aircraft will be based off of a single airframe, but we'll have 2 variants ultimately. One will be the regional commuter aircraft, 9 passengers. The other will be a business aircraft of 6 passengers. It'll have longer range and higher altitude cruising capabilities.
Thank you.
Councilman Blair?
Real quick, if you flew that plane fully loaded with 9 passengers and 2 pilots from here to LA, once you got there, how long does that have to recharge before you can take off again?
Current battery technologies, being what they are, and current technologies relative to how you charge batteries. There's a great deal of controls that go into that. Short answer, 1/2 hour for every hour of flight.
Leland, you know, there was recently an article regarding an investment partner. Can you talk a little bit about that? I know some of that is now public
It is.
knowledge.
Aviation has secured the final funding necessary to ensure our aircraft development and our manufacturing for our go-to-market and delivery of aircraft. The significance of that comes from a substantial, now majority ownership investment in aviation from the Claremont Group. Claremont Group of Singapore is an international organization that has a fundamental mission of ecology and renewable energies and renewable resources. They have established, and at its cornerstone, aviation is a part of the Claremont Aerospace Group.
278 million, is that right?
That's correct. It's a potential of such. Yeah.
I caught the softball, thank you.
Yeah.
that are like $250 million.
Yeah, it's substantial. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. You know, this is such an exciting time for Prescott. I don't think we even begin to understand what's happening with regard to getting aviation here and working with Embry-Riddle. I mean, the potential is gigantic. So we need to move heaven and earth to help aviation establish whatever we can. And I think you have total commitment from this council. It's just a new day for the city of Prescott with regard to our airport. And it all is kind of coming around full circle because of the things that are going on at the airport and now with aviation and getting that funding. It's just going to be a tremendous benefit to our community. So we welcome every bit of this.
Thank you. And I will say that aviation is not seeking preferential treatment as much as we are seeking the willingness and the openness and the support
Absolutely.
in which this community offers any business. And so we will expound on that. We will be your best partner with expectations that you will support us as well. But we are seeking to advocate for a community that will welcome an ecosystem of our business enterprise, and that is potentially other aviation-related companies as co-manufacturers and aviation services to even greater expound upon our airport.
So a follow-up question then, are people reaching out to you, Leland, here? I mean, are they coming in and saying, how can we be a part of this Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, first and foremost, Arizona now number 4 in the nation for its GDP in aerospace and defense. And so we have the opportunity for partners here in Arizona, which create essentially a local supply stream. We would advocate that in more critical aspects and large assemblies and so on that we would need, and it would be the best economical sense of other businesses to be co-located here. And we have had people from around the United States, as well as Germany, South Korea, who have all inquired about that aspect. First question is, why Prescott? We have a lot to share with them on that basis.
Great, thank you.
One last question. How much does that aircraft weigh unloaded?
Well, unloaded, it is 14,000 pounds.
Okay.
50% of that is the batteries alone.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
Leland, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate the information. It's very helpful. You want to move on to the next item, Jim, within your presentation?
Just real fast on Leland's piece. I don't know if any of you saw 60 Minutes the other night, but if you take a look at electric aircraft and electric cars, we keep thinking about Tesla because that's what we see in the United States. China right now is, there's 1 million electric cars sold in the world today in a year. 750,000 of those are sold in China. The technologies that they're using, they have 12 electric aircraft car companies. And I was watching the technologies and how they're building this. If we don't think we're in a race in this country with what the rest of the world is going on, both from the battery technologies, propulsion technologies, the automotive technologies, we are. And the reason I'm bringing this up, and I think it's so critical, understand what Leland and Aviation has brought here. It's not just an aircraft manufacturer. It is the leading cutting-edge aircraft and electric aircraft in the entire world is what's going to be here. How that works with Embry-Riddle, how that works with Yavapai College, how that works with the state of Arizona, this is a big deal. So if we play our cards right, we are probably one of the most cutting-edge technologies will be here in the United States or in the world. Let me tell you something, when those guys get jobs, they aren't paying 20 grand. So these are very specialized, high-paying jobs. Now, on to the next. One of the things that you've heard me talk about a lot within our community is Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and their College of Intelligence and Security. Dr. John Haas is here today to put on a presentation about that and what does that mean for us. The thing that I think is critical here, I don't think there's a day that goes by that somebody's not hacked, it's a company, and we're almost to the point where when we look at cyber, we look at it and it's like, oh, yeah, okay, well, somebody else got hacked. What does that mean? If you look in the United States of America, I'm not worried about any missiles, bombs, or anything. I am extremely concerned about how we're protecting ourselves globally against cyber warfare. And actually, with Embry-Riddle's help and our people in Washington, D.C., there's a course that we're going to teach that cyber is a warfare for economic warfare. And Dr. John Haas, who's here with us today, John has his doctorate from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He basically designed most of the courses at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University for their College of Intelligence and Security. I've been working with him for a number of years. I cannot say enough good things about what this man's doing in our community. He's also on the Governor Ducey's advisory board for cyber for the state of Arizona. And I can go on and on for hours about the accomplishments, but now John is the dean of the College of Intelligence and Security, which I am very proud. So, Dr. Haas.
Well, thanks so much, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, the audience. It's great to be here today, and let's see if this is all queued up. Yep, great. So today I wanted to talk to you about job growth opportunities, in particular in the area of cybersecurity, cyber intelligence. I just got out of class today, and what I was teaching was malware analysis. And so I'm having the students, each one of them, take real live malware, analyze it, and understand how it works and how to stop it. And of course, we hope not to get it spread outside of the lab. That's why we have a separate lab for that, separate from the rest of the university, so that our work doesn't spread to the rest of their network. Now, I want to correct that I was responsible for the Cyber Intelligence and Security program, not everything in the College of Security and Intelligence.
Well, wait a minute, John. When we were drinking, that's what you said, man.
Oh, okay. So the college includes both global security and intelligence studies, which is national security, corporate security, as well as the kind of things that we think of when we think about spies and the CIA, the FBI, as well as the cyber program. And we house both master's and bachelor's programs. But today I wanted to give you a vision for what we are trying to do. We'd like to create, much like aviation, high-paying jobs that will bring cyber innovation to northern Arizona. And what are some of those jobs? Well, we look at Chino Valley, we look at Prescott Valley, Prescott, Dewey Humboldt, and here's our map. And most of the people in the state, in this region, are not able to take advantage of some of the capabilities that we have. And so cybersecurity is big in the country, and cyber intelligence is relatively new. Jim mentioned the fact that we are working with Washington, D.C. I gave a symposium there on cyber intelligence this last September, attended by government, corporate, as well as military personnel, because what we want to do is we want to teach people how to recognize cyber threats before they land. And that's part of the offensive part, is that if we can see it before they land, then they don't shut down a city like Atlanta, or they don't shut down an electric grid like happened in Ukraine. So we want to have a different impact. Rather than just defense, we want to understand where it's coming. That's why our program is called Cyber Intelligence and Security. And so what we want to do is we want to retain the students that are graduating, because some of them would love to live here, but they don't find the kind of jobs that they can find down in Phoenix or somewhere else. So let me just give you a little picture. This is cyberseek.org, and it's a live interactive map. You can go there and you can click on the different regions, and you'll notice the darker it is means that there's more need for jobs in those areas. And you'll notice our area, if I can point this, let's see, oh, maybe it doesn't work. But you can see that our little area in Yavapai County needs only between 11 and 24 people of this type. And you say, well, I didn't know we needed any of them in Yavapai County. But one of my graduates, for instance, is the cybersecurity team, one person, for Yavapai Medical Regional Hospital. And she graduated just 2 years ago, and so she was employed there. And now they have somebody who understands the cybersecurity issues associated with health care. You may have heard about ransomware. And so she wants to make sure that that doesn't happen to our little hospital. But I'd like that few people in Yavapai County to be a growing number each year. So the nation is creating an initiative. It's called the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education, because this is not just a regional problem, it's a global problem. And so we've identified 7 top areas under which there's 31 specialty areas and 55 work roles. And when you go to that site, cyberseek.org, you can click and you can find out how many are needed in each area, the types of jobs and the job roles, the skills that are needed, and lo and behold, we can provide those skills and talents here, both in our junior college at Yavapai College with their 2-year program, with our 4-year program, and with our master's programs. So we're well prepared. Last March, Governor Ducey started the Arizona Cybersecurity Team. Its first mission was to protect Arizona and its members, its companies, its governments from threats. But a secondary goal was workforce development and education, and that's the part that, of course, I'm very attached to. So we want to enhance our cybersecurity workforce development and education and bring best practices to governments, corporations, and individuals. So I was appointed to the council, and I'm on the education committee, and I want to make sure that Northern Arizona is not forgotten. I'm the only person from Northern Arizona on the team, and so I always bring up the fact that there's a lot of space north of Maricopa County, and there's a lot of opportunity here. And I want to bring that opportunity now that we have 2 fiber lines coming into the area. We can start to provide these kinds of services for companies and for startups. So right now we have Yavapai College with their associates and certificate degrees, and Embry-Riddle we have a dedicated college that supports security and intelligence with bachelor's and master's degrees. And we have begun professional education. I was recently up in Seattle, and Boeing wants us to provide them training all around the world to provide them cybersecurity best practices. I've just hired an aviation cybersecurity expert who's internationally known, who is now chairing the Cyber Intelligence and Security degree program since I have now over the entire college. So this is really great that we have this. One of the resources that we're building, and it will be available to students, not just at Embry-Riddle, but at high schools or other colleges and groups, to come in and learn these skills even before they get to college. And so we call them red team, blue team, green team, purple team. Red team means attackers, and these are people that are learning how to find the vulnerabilities in a system. Blue teams are the defenders, and then IoT is the Internet of Things. One of those things is an aviation aircraft. We certainly don't want someone to be able to modify an aircraft, modify a car, or modify the power grid or even the lights in downtown Prescott and cause them to all go red, for instance, at the wrong time. So this is the Internet of Things that we are learning. So the cyber range right now is housed out at the flight line, but we hope to have a larger space for it. And so students are there to be there, and then if people come to learn about it, they can use the range to start out as a beginner, know nothing about it, all the way up to what we call ninja level, where they are able to attack systems, defend them, and educate others. So this range, as it grows, becomes a resource for the entire region, not just for education, but it can be used by the public. So this, we think, is going to be a great place to educate people and also do testing. Suppose somebody comes up with a new avionics system, we can test it there and bring it into the lab. Now, another part of this is to have what's called a GSOC, or a Global Security Operations Center. This is an example of one down in Mesa, which is for the Boeing company. It's being managed by one of our 2006 grads, and they hired recently 5 of our 2017 grads to run this operations center. We have the opportunity with a local company called CyberCore. We already have some customers for that outside of Arizona. One of them is a nearby very large state, and they are asking not one of their own state's companies to do it, but right here in Prescott, an Arizona company to be able to provide those services. So we're really proud of that, and we think that that can grow and enhance. And what do we need? We need the fiber, which we have. We need an ISP. We have 2 of them. And we need the physical space, and we need the talent. And so that is going to grow as the client list grows. And those kinds of people need to be able to man it 24/7. That means then 2 either long shifts or more likely 3 overlapping shifts throughout the day so that they can provide this 24/7 service. So we think that this is a great thing for the economic development of the region, and it can retain our high school students, our college students, our university students, and attract other organizations, including investment. So I have the logo from the Humboldt School District. That's what that one is. It's hard to read.
Can see.
It's very pretty, but you can't read that that's Prescott Valley and the Prescott Unified School District, Embry-Riddle, and Yavapai College. These are our talent pool. These are the people that we want to retain. So with that, I just thank you for the opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you, Dr. Haas. Appreciate you being here today. Any quick questions so we can get on to the next item? Mr. Robb is pushing us hard here. Thanks so much, Dr. Haas. Appreciate your work.
Last thing, just so you know, with Yavapai College, hey, Richard, how you doing? So we are starting this Northern Arizona Technology Alliance. We're actually in, we're started with a...
We're incorporated, we're working on the 501(c)(3)s.
And this is going to be a great asset for the community. I can't believe how business leaders and technology leaders have come together. I think we'll have more on this that I can present in the next 30 to 60 days. We've had our first organization meeting, second one coming up. The other thing is that Yavapai College has their certification for also, besides the, what they're doing presently, one of the things I wanted to say, and this is really important, and I'll shut up, that they have now software development. They're actually doing coding at Yavapai College. #1 job in the United States right now, #1 desired job in the United States right now is software development. The average salary is $100,670 a year. And the openings are like crazy. Yavapai College has started their program. I'm really excited about that. And everything that they're doing to try and help with aviation, what they're trying to do to help with Embry-Riddle, they're also on the committee with us for NATA. So it is truly a Prescott. It is a regional thing that we're doing. But again, at the end of the day, high-paying jobs, that's what we want to bring here, and that's what we've started. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Let's move on to item 3B.
Presentation by Public Works on the draft pavement assessment survey and the next steps of the pavement management program.
Sorry, Craig. We'll be able to go pass through a little bit if you need it, so don't worry about it.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. And I believe we can give you the Cliff Notes version, because I believe we're going to have a few people ready to come in here at 3 o'clock, so we'll make it work. So this afternoon, we're going to talk a little bit about pavement assessment. So back in August of 2018, we brought forward requested approval and was ultimately granted for us to proceed with a contract with IMS, a company that does pavement assessment. So previously, prior to that, the last time the city completed a comprehensive pavement assessment was in 2007. That assessment was done visually. It was just a visual assessment by people themselves looking at the pavement and giving it a scoring and a grade. With that, there can be variation. If 3 of us look at something, each one of us can look at it a little differently. So with the IMS process then, we entered into the contract with them. We took everything that we had already in the city system with GIS and the mapping. That's the top square up here. Then they did field surveys. So from the field surveys, just about all of our roads were driven by a van that was taking computer laser analysis of the pavement, as well as we did structural testing also. From that, then they have taken all the information that they've gathered and bringing it into a pavement management system ultimately. From that, they have presented us now with a draft results from that. We're going to go through a few slides associated with that. Ultimately, we will have a total integrated pavement plan that will drive us then into construction projects. So with the construction projects, ultimately, we're looking at using the right dollars with the right method in the right place at the right time. And when we look at the map, we'll show you an example of some of the things that we previously were doing that didn't necessarily follow this path. So we're not going to go through this. This is just give you a little example. So there are 3,325 street segments entered into this page. This is all of the information then that they've gathered on every street segment. It'll give the width, the length, all these different pieces, everything that the laser analysis brought forward, the structural analysis brought forward. So we have all this, as well as we have 166,099 images that go with every one of these street segments. So IMS is going to take all of this information and put it into our maintenance management program, Lucity. So we'll be able to go in there and look at every street and come up with all this information from it, as well as images to back it up. And then that's going to guide our pavement management and pavement rehabilitation preservation process. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric Stewart, our city engineer, to continue a little further.
Thank you, Craig. And so this is just a chart showing the breakdown of what paved assets fall into different functional classifications. And so when I say functional classifications, it's basically the type of volume of roads. So arterial roads are going to be roads like Gurley and Willow Creek, and collectors are going to be like Gale Gardner, et cetera. And then our local roads are most of the ones that we live on. And you can see we have about 2/3 of our roads in the green there. Those are our local roads, 16% arterials and so forth. The rest are collectors. You talked a little bit about PCI. PCI, so this PCI, Pavement Condition Index, this is generated using all of the data collected. It goes into a standardized format that all of the nation uses. So when we talk about PCI, you can compare our PCI to any other agency, providing they use the same ASTM that we've used. This is a breakdown on the horizontal axis of this chart. This is our pavement condition. As you go to the right, it gets better. And as you go up, that's a percentage in those different ranges of 10 to 20% and so forth. There's a couple of goals that our consultant has given for us. Two of those are to talk about, let me see here, our actually percent of excellence. So one of the goals is to have over 15% of our paved assets in the 85 plus range. And we want that because it helps balance out our assets. If you don't have enough in there, we're always chasing, trying to make roads better and better. Another goal is to have, you see the 30 to 40% range, about 4 from the left. We want to, those are our backlogs. So the first 4 columns are our backlog, and those are roads that are in pretty bad condition. They're very terribly alligatored, and those are the ones we want to rehabilitate first. And so the goal is to have about 15% or less. They like 10 to 12% in the backlog state. We have 22, just under 22% this time. So it's not great news, but the good news is that we have this data and we can move forward with it.
So overall, our PCI came in at 60. So the national average they see is between 60 and 65. So we are just at the bottom of the average. So we're not in terrible condition.
Right. So nationwide, the average for most agencies that IMS works with is between 60 to 70, and we're at the bottom end of that range. Let's see here. This next chart is a breakdown, lots of data here, lots of pretty colors. This next breakdown is PCI by functional classification. And so the red, there's a lot of good news here. On the right side, if you look at our red, those are our main roads, our arterials, and our blue is our collectors. So we have a lot of those that are in really good condition. And those are reflective on a lot of the work that's been done in the last few years on Willow Creek Road and some of our other arterials and collectors. On the left side of the chart, you'll see the green, which is our local roads. We have a lot of those that are in poorer states that are on our list of things to repair first. So that's this chart. Anything else you want to add to that? No. Okay. Okay, you want to pull up the map? Yep.
Councilman Blair, did you have a question?
I do. You start talking about local roads and you use the number of 2007. And that was back when the city went out and they used millings and to provide some of the dirt roads that were dirt within the city, keep the dust abatement down, and use millings and overlays on those roads, which we all knew would only have a certain lifespan because they fall apart. And now they're falling apart, and I'm sure this is one of the big numbers of our local roads. And it was presented to the council at that time that those roads would have first priority once those roads started falling apart because they take a huge amount of maintenance. Is that still the case today?
You're going to see that on this map. So this map is the entire city, and then all the colors in it, and we're gonna zoom in. All the colors on it then are, they go with the classification. So red is bad, bright green is much better. So then
I know that's a lot to ask, Greg, because I know there's a lot of those miles in this community now, including alleys that we use as infrastructure. And I'm just wondering how you tie the ones that are falling apart to the ones that we need to continue to look at as far as arterials and make that mesh, because I know you can't take all our money and put them in local roads while we let the main drivers of all the vehicles go to waste. So there's got to be some kind of way to, through this system, to manage both of those.
Absolutely, and that's what IMS brings to the table for us. So then it's a matter of balancing all those. We don't put all our dollars into total reconstruction because then we have so many other streets that degrade to the point of needing more than preservation processes. So it's a matter of balancing everything from the preservation to thin overlays to thick overlays to reconstruction to balance the dollars throughout the entire system. So now on the map here, as Eric mentioned from the other graph, so here green, we got Willow Creek Road is showing green all the way in. So that is either excellent or very good. You can see that come all the way in like that. If we go over to Highway 89, then we have the brand new section by Phippen. And then you get the segment that goes from the Phippen roundabout to the Willow Lake roundabout, where we get into orange, some red, little segment in there that's better, and again get back into orange or red here. That is currently under design to do a mill and overlay in that segment. But then when we get down to the rest of it, State Route 89 continues being in good condition. Rosser going across is similar.
So what I'm seeing here, and not to break in, but I'm seeing a lot of old-time Prescott Heights in particular,
Yep.
that are in dire need because they have not been paid attention to, for the most part, for the last 30 to 40 years.
Absolutely, yep. Again, we've got Gurley, Sheldon, but yes.
I see my house up there.
Then when we look into the older part of the community, absolutely, we have a lot of red, orange showing that. But that's what they're going to deliver to us, is the laid out program and the suggested years, the suggested method that we're going to do, everything that will go with that. So yeah, we have the entire city. If we go out here, for instance, you have Pie Hills. You can see that overall it's in real good condition with an exception of a segment of Sunrise here, Bear Way, and a couple others that are dropping down here into the orange. Same thing up in the Pinion Oaks area. Pinion Oaks looks very good.
At what point do you try to save those so you don't have to go to total rehabilitation? I guess that's my point. You start talking about the city's tax dollars. The maintenance is always high, but also when you get to the point of the millings that are falling apart now, when you have to take those up and do all the base and the underneath, that costs us a lot of money. So at what point in time does this system weigh it out to have those done before it becomes critical?
Yes, it does. And that's where it'll come in with some preservation methods, or like chip seals, conventional chip seal, rubber chip seal, micro seal like we did on Highway 89, things like that. We do rejuvenator oils before they get to be too dry in order to, that's the hand cream on the pavement. So those things will be laid out to preserve, so you keep it in good condition with pennies per square foot versus where then you go to $1 per square foot, something like that, when you're talking about mill and overlay or hundreds of dollars to do reconstruction. An example here quickly, in regards, several of you will be aware that Goodwin Street was a full-fledged project, total reconstruction, curb and gutter, everything. Here we are, green, green. We got a little bit yellow. We got one little segment here for a half block that's red. And under previous methods and considerations, it was going to be a total reconstruction. So that would have been an example of us using our dollars not wisely, not for the right method in the right place at the right time.
So Craig, I noticed on Smoke Tree, there was one red that was really a wide red. Is there different dimensions of, if you go to Smoke Tree and the Smoke Tree by Prescott Lakes Parkway, which is like what Steve is kind of describing, kind of like falling apart. So does that indicate?
It's going to be wider because we're separated, so we're getting a red line
Got
for
it.
each side of it.
Okay, thank you.
You know, one of the nice things about this in my mind is it takes so much subjectivity about what the priorities are out of the mix, and you're making objective analysis based on existing criteria established by a laser.
Yeah, in short, Craig's not going to answer my call on potholes anymore. Anything else to wrap up, Craig?
One last one.
Okay.
No, very good point, Mr. Lamar. So yes, this gives us all the information we need to make data-driven decisions. Looking forward, we've been given some a way to kind of forecast with our budgets that we're spending. Looking at this chart along the horizontal axis, that's years, the next 5 years out, and the vertical axis is PCI. So basically, the more we spend per year, the more we're going to increase our PCI. Starting at the bottom, the black line, that's if we do nothing. So over 5 years, we'll drop from a 59 down to a 52 PCI. Going up, the red line, that's maintaining. So, and there's a dollar amount associated with each of these. Maintaining in the red, that's $5.15 million a year. And then moving forward and up, we are currently spending about $5.5 million a year. And that's over 5 years going to give us about a 62, 63 PCI. But we're looking at the overall goal of increasing that to maybe a 65 over the next 5 years. And we'll be talking more about that in the future.
I have one question. I have lots of them, but when you get right down to it, at the end of the day, have we changed our standards on asphalt to be of the higher grade? At one point in time, we were using subgrade standards, in my opinion, of asphalt, being in the business that I was for a while, and Mike Phan's sitting back there, but I used to be one of those guys raking asphalt, so I know the values of how much oil and base is to the mix. Are we using a higher standard so that the roads last longer?
Yes, we are using the
Mag
newest technologies, the newest products and such to get the best product that we can right out of the chute for the longevity.
I appreciate that.
Any other quick questions, council? Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you moving quickly.
Cliff notes.
We're going to adjourn and then take about a 5-minute break, so we should start around 3:05. This meeting is adjourned.